Most people look at 1 acre of land and see a limitation, but what if that same patch of earth could quietly generate income from 7 completely separate directions at once? That is not a fantasy, that is a system, and today you are going to see exactly how it works, step by step, starting from the outer edges of your land all the way to the center, and then into something most farmers never even think about. Before we go any further, ask yourself this: how many income streams does your current farm produce? If the answer is 1, you are 1 bad season away from losing everything. The farmers who survive droughts, price crashes, and pest invasions are not the ones with the most land. They are the ones with the most connected systems. 1 acre, properly designed, can outlast and out-earn a 10-acre monoculture. That is what this video will prove to you. Let us start at the very beginning, at the boundary of your land, because most farmers treat their borders as dead space. A fence is just a fence, right? Wrong. Your border is your first income stream, and it starts the moment you rethink what grows there. Instead of putting up a plain concrete wall or a basic wire fence, you plant high-value timber trees along the perimeter. Think along the lines of hardwoods that take years to grow but are worth serious money when they do. Teak, mahogany, sandalwood, and similar species work beautifully here. They grow tall and strong on the edges, which means they do not compete with your central crops for sunlight or soil. They are your long game, your retirement fund planted into the ground. Now, here is where it gets smarter. At the base of those trees, you plant pineapple. Pineapple plants have stiff, spiny leaves that act as a living wall. Animals do not push through them. People do not casually step over them. You get a natural, self-maintaining barrier that also produces fruit you can sell. Your boundary is now doing 2 jobs at once, protecting your farm and producing food. But wait, because we are not done with the border yet. Those same trees can be used as natural poles to support solar-powered electric fencing. You are using a resource that was already going to be there to hold the infrastructure that protects everything else on your farm. You do not need to pour concrete poles. You already have them growing in the ground. So from your boundary alone, you are building long-term timber value, producing pineapple fruit, and running a solar security system. That is 3 benefits from 1 strip of land most farmers ignore completely. Now, what do most people do with a tree once it is planted? They wait for the fruit or the timber, and that's it. But a tree is more than its fruit and its wood. It is a vertical structure, and vertical structures can be farmed. This is your second income stream. Think about the trunk of a tall hardwood tree. It rises several meters into the air. That entire height is unused space that you are currently leaving empty. What if something valuable could climb that trunk and produce a high-value crop from the same footprint of land? Black pepper vines do exactly that. So do betel leaf plants. These are climbing crops that latch onto the bark of the tree, spiral upward, and produce leaves or berries at multiple levels simultaneously. You are not using extra land, you are using altitude. You are farming airspace that was previously doing nothing. Here's the question every farmer should be asking: why grow 1 thing when you can grow 2 from the exact same square footage? The answer is usually habit. Most farmers plant what their parents planted and manage it the way their parents managed it. But once you start seeing your land as a 3-dimensional growing space, not just a flat surface, everything changes. The vines climbing your border trees are producing income that costs you almost nothing extra in land, water, or fertilizer, because they share those resources with the tree they are climbing. This is called multi-layer or vertical farming, and it is one of the most underused strategies on small farms worldwide. You now have timber, fruit, security, climbing crops, and a vertical harvest system, all from your outer boundary. Moving inward, let's talk about your third income stream, the one that puts money in your hand every single morning: dairy. 2 or 3 healthy, well-fed cows kept on your property give you fresh milk on a daily cycle. Milk does not wait for harvest season. Milk does not depend on rainfall. Every morning, those cows produce something you can sell that same day. That is cash flow, and cash flow is what keeps a farm alive through the lean months when your crops are still growing. But here is where this income stream gets deeply intelligent. Cows produce waste, lots of it. On most farms, that waste is a chore. You clean it up, you haul it away, and maybe you spread it on a field somewhere. But on this system, cow waste is the beginning of 2 more valuable outputs. The first is biogas, a small biogas digester, which is not an expensive or complicated piece of equipment, takes the manure from your cows and converts it into clean cooking fuel. Your family no longer needs to buy gas cylinders or firewood for the kitchen. That is a direct reduction in your monthly expenses, which means more money stays in your pocket without earning a single extra rupee.
The second output from that same digester is organic slurry. After the gas has been extracted from the manure, what remains is a nutrient-rich liquid that plants love. You pump or carry that slurry to your crops, and it replaces the chemical fertilizers you would otherwise have to buy. You have now turned a waste problem into a fuel supply and a fertilizer factory, and it all comes from your cows. Milk to sell, free cooking fuel, free fertilizer. 3 outputs from one group of animals. That is the kind of compounding that makes a small farm powerful. Let us keep building. Your fourth income stream combines 2 things that most farmers keep completely separate: poultry and fish. Here's how it works. You build a chicken house, but you position part of that structure directly over a fish pond. Not all of it, just a portion. A controlled amount of chicken waste falls naturally into the water below and becomes food for the fish. Fish that are well fed grow faster, and you spent almost nothing on feed. Meanwhile, the chickens are patrolling your fields, picking off insects, larvae, and pests that would otherwise damage your crops. You are not just getting eggs and meat, you are getting free pest control. Now, pause and think about what just happened. You solved 3 problems at once. You reduced your fish feed costs, you reduced the chemical pesticide pressure on your crops, and you built 2 separate protein income streams, eggs and fish, that can be sold at market regularly. The integration is the point. When one element of your farm feeds another, your costs drop and your output rises. That is efficiency, and that is what separates a struggling farm from a thriving one. But you cannot run a farm on long-term timber and eggs alone. You need something that pays you back within months, not years. That brings us to your 5th income stream, your central cash crops. The center of your 1 acre is your engine room. This is where you plant fast-maturing, high-demand crops: ginger, turmeric, seasonal vegetables, leafy greens, herbs. These are crops that go from seed to sale in a matter of weeks or a few months. They fill your market basket between the longer cycles of your other crops, and they do it consistently. To make sure these central crops perform at their best regardless of the weather, you install a drip irrigation system. Drip irrigation delivers water directly to the root zone of each plant, eliminating waste and ensuring every plant gets exactly what it needs, even in dry months when rain is unreliable. This matters more than most farmers realize. Water stress is one of the leading causes of crop failure on small farms. A plant that goes without water for even a few critical days during flowering or fruiting can lose most of its yield. Drip irrigation takes that risk almost entirely off the table. And here is the quiet economic genius of drip systems. They save water, yes, but they also save time. You are not standing in a field with a hose for hours every day. That time goes back to you, to manage other parts of your system, to process products, to explore markets. Your central cash crops, irrigated precisely and managed carefully, become the heartbeat of your farm income. When your timber is still growing and your fish are still maturing, your ginger and vegetables are already at the market. Now let us talk about something most farms literally throw away every single day: waste. Farm waste. Dry leaves, crop residue, cow dung, kitchen scraps. These materials pile up, get burned, or get discarded. That is money leaving your property in the form of smoke and garbage. Your 6th income stream stops that from happening. Vermicomposting is the process of using earthworms to break down organic waste into extremely high-quality compost. You set up a simple vermicompost bed, feed it your farm waste and cow dung, and the worms do the rest. What comes out is a dark, rich, crumbly fertilizer that home gardeners, urban farmers, and nurseries will pay for gladly. Think about who is buying compost right now. People with balcony gardens, people who grow herbs on their kitchen windowsills, suburban families who want to grow their own tomatoes but do not have soil. These are markets that most rural farmers never consider, and they are willing to pay premium prices for clean, organic, ready-to-use compost. You are already producing the raw materials. Your cows give you dung, your trees and crops give you
the earthworms give you the finished product for free. You pay for nothing except the initial worm culture and a simple bin setup. After that, the system runs itself. And the benefit doubles here. The compost you produce on your own farm reduces your fertilizer costs even further, building on what your biogas slurry already started. You are creating a closed-loop nutrient cycle where very little inputs need to come from outside your property. Now, here is the shift that separates farmers who stay small from the ones who grow. It is not about what you produce, it is about what form you sell it in. Most farmers sell raw, a bag of turmeric, a crate of ginger, a pile of fresh vegetables. And when you sell raw, you are at the mercy of market prices that fluctuate wildly, middlemen who take their cut, and buyers who will lowball you because they know you need to move product quickly. Your seventh income stream changes that equation entirely. Instead of selling raw turmeric, you dry it and grind it into powder. Instead of selling fresh ginger, you slice and dehydrate it into dried chips or process it into paste. Instead of raw pineapple, you produce dried pineapple rings. What happens to the price when you process your product? It goes up, sometimes significantly. The same kilo of turmeric that sells for a few units of currency as a raw root sells for several times that amount as a clean, packaged powder. You did not grow more. You did not hire more workers. You added a processing step that multiplied your revenue from the same crop. And then there's the experience layer. You can invite people onto your farm. Agri-tourism is a growing industry in many parts of the world. Families, students, and urban professionals are genuinely curious about where their food comes from. They will pay for the chance to walk through a working, diverse farm, pick fruit, see the biogas system, feed the fish, and take home some of your processed products. You are no longer just a producer. You are a destination, and destinations command prices that raw commodity farmers can only dream about. Before we move to the bonus strategies, ask yourself this. Of the 7 streams we have covered so far, how many does your current farm or the land you are planning to use actually utilize? If the answer is less than 3, you are leaving significant income on the table every single season. Here's something that most farming guides skip over completely, and it might be the highest return on investment addition you can make to your entire 1-acre system. Honeybees. Beekeeping is often dismissed as a hobby by people who have never seriously considered what bees do for a farm. Yes, they produce honey, and honey is a valuable product that stores well, ships easily, and sells at premium prices, especially if it is raw or varietal. But that is almost a side benefit compared to what bees do for your overall farm system. Bees are pollinators. When you keep healthy hives on or near your property, every flowering plant on your land benefits. Your ginger flowers get pollinated, your turmeric, your seasonal vegetables, your pineapple blossoms. Research consistently shows that farms with active bee populations can see their overall crop yields increase by 20 to 30% compared to farms without bees. 20 to 30% on a system that is already producing 7 income streams. A 20 to 30% boost in yield means a massive jump in total output without adding a single extra square foot of growing space or a single extra hour of labor beyond basic hive management. Honey to sell, increased yields across every crop, potential to sell beeswax, propolis, and bee products, all from a set of hives that take up almost no physical space and cost very little to maintain once established. If you are building a 1-acre system and you leave out beekeeping, you are voluntarily walking away from one of the most efficient income multipliers available to you. The second bonus addition is one that most farmers in rain-dependent regions understand in theory, but rarely implement well. Rainwater harvesting. Water is not always available when you need it. You know this. Every farmer knows this. The rainy season fills your fields, but the summer months can be brutal, and that is exactly when your crops need consistent moisture to survive and produce. Rainwater harvesting means capturing every drop of rain that falls on the roofs of your structures, your cowshed, your chicken house, your storage area, and channeling it into a storage system. Underground cisterns, covered tanks, or a properly lined storage pond can hold thousands of liters of water collected during the monsoon season and make it available months later when the sky has turned dry. This is not just a comfort measure, it is a survival strategy, and when combined with your drip irrigation system, it becomes something remarkable.
You collected the water for free from rain. You deliver it precisely to each plant root with zero waste. Your central cash crops continue producing through the hottest, driest months of the year, while neighboring farms are struggling to keep their plants alive. That is a competitive advantage. When supply drops because other farms are failing in a dry season, your farm is still producing, and when supply drops, prices go up. You are positioned to sell more at higher prices, exactly when the market is most favorable. Now let's us take a step back and see this entire system from above. From the outer boundary inward, you have high-value timber trees as a long-term investment, pineapple acting as a security hedge and fruit producer, solar-powered fencing using those same trees as poles, climbing crops like black pepper and betel leaf using the tree trunks as vertical growing structures, cows providing daily milk income, cooking fuel from biogas, and fertilizer from organic slurry, a combined chicken and fish system that feeds itself and controls pests, central, fast turnaround cash crops irrigated with a precision drip system, vermicompost production turning waste into sellable organic fertilizer, value-added product processing multiplying the price of your raw crops, agri-tourism and farm visits creating experience-based income, beehives boosting yields across the whole property and producing honey, and rainwater harvesting storing free water for use when it matters most. Every single one of these components supports the others. The cows feed the biogas plant, which feeds the slurry system, which feeds the crops. The chickens feed the fish and eat the pests. The bees pollinate the crops that produce the raw materials for your value-added products. The trees support the vines and the fencing. The rainwater feeds the drip system that keeps the cash crops alive in dry months. This is not a collection of separate farming ideas. This is a single, living machine where every part makes every other part work better. You might be wondering at this point how a person actually starts this. Not the final version, not the fully running system, but the beginning. Where do you put your first foot down? The honest answer is that you do not start all 7 streams at once. That is the fastest way to overwhelm yourself and spread your budget too thin to do any single thing well. You start with 1 or 2 streams that fit your current situation, your soil type, your local market, your available labor, and your starting capital. If you have some cash to invest and you want daily income immediately, start with the dairy cows and set up the biogas system alongside it. That combination pays you every morning and reduces your expenses within weeks. It is a self-financing entry point. If you are working with very limited funds, start with vermicomposting. The setup cost is minimal. The raw materials are things you likely already have or can gather easily, and the market for quality organic compost is growing in almost every region, urban and rural alike. If you want to see results quickly in terms of crop income, plant your central cash crops first. Ginger and turmeric are relatively low cost to plant, have reliable market demand, and can return your investment within a single growing season. Once your first stream is generating income, you reinvest a portion of that income into setting up the next stream. You add the chickens and the fish pond, you plant the boundary trees, you install the drip system. One layer at a time, your farm evolves from a simple operation into a fully interconnected system. This approach is important for a reason that goes beyond just financial management. Each layer you add gives you time to learn that system before adding the next one. Managing dairy cows well is a skill. Managing a fish pond is a different skill. Value-adding your products requires knowledge of food handling, packaging, and market access. You do not want to learn all of those simultaneously. You want to master one, then add another, building your farm knowledge the same way you build your farm income. There is also a social dimension to this system that does not get talked about enough. When your farm becomes genuinely interesting, when it is diverse and productive and visibly different from the single crop plots around it, other farmers notice. They ask questions. They want to visit. And that curiosity is the seed of your agri-tourism stream before you have even formally launched it. Your farm becomes a demonstration model, and demonstration models attract attention from agricultural organizations, academic institutions, government schemes, and media. None of those things happen to the farmer growing one crop in one field year after year. They happen to the farmer who has built something worth looking at. Now, let us talk about something practical that a lot of farming videos skip entirely.
Because none of this system works if your underlying soil is depleted, compacted, or chemically burned from years of synthetic fertilizer use. The good news is that this system, by its very design, actively restores soil health rather than degrading it. The biogas slurry adds beneficial microorganisms back into the soil. The vermicompost improves soil structure, water retention, and nutrient availability. The mulch from your trees and crop residues protects soil surface temperature and moisture. The bee activity supports microbial diversity underground through its effects on plant root systems. Over time, a farm running this system does not just maintain its soil, it improves it. That is the opposite of what conventional monoculture farming does, which extracts nutrients year after year until the land becomes dependent on ever-increasing chemical inputs just to produce mediocre yields. Your 1-acre system gets more fertile every year. Your input costs decrease as your soil health improves. Your yields go up as your plants grow in richer, more alive soil. And the value of your land itself increases because healthy, fertile, well-managed farmland is worth significantly more than degraded soil. This is the compounding effect of integrated farming, and it works on a timeline that most business investments cannot match. 5 years into running this system, your land is more productive, more profitable, more resilient, and more valuable than it was on day one. 10 years in, the timber trees you planted along the boundary are approaching harvest size, and that is an asset you created essentially for free by using border space that would have otherwise been empty. The system is not just income, it is wealth building, and it does both simultaneously. Let us also talk about the market reality, because building a productive farm means nothing if you cannot sell what you produce at prices that make the effort worthwhile. The 7-stream model naturally reduces your dependence on any single buyer or any single market price. When turmeric prices drop, your dairy income is still coming in every morning. When vegetable prices are suppressed, your processed ginger powder commands its own price because you have added value to it. When market access is difficult, your agri-tourism visitors come directly to you. Diversification is not just a farming strategy, it is a business strategy. The most resilient businesses in any industry are the ones that do not rely on a single product or a single customer. Your farm, structured this way, follows the same logic that successful companies have used for generations. And here is what market diversification does to your negotiating position. When you walk into a market with one product, the buyer knows you need to sell it today. They lowball you. But when you have 7 income streams flowing simultaneously, you can afford to hold a product, wait for a better price, or redirect it into a value-added form if the raw price is too low. That is negotiating power. That is financial confidence. There is one more thing that almost never gets discussed in practical farming videos, and it might be the most important of all: mental resilience. Farming is hard. Everyone knows this in a general sense, but farmers who have lived through a crop failure, an animal disease outbreak, a drought, or a flood know it in a visceral, personal way. Those events are not just financially devastating, they are emotionally crushing when everything you have worked for is reduced to zero by something completely outside your control. The 7-stream system does not make you immune to hard seasons, but it fundamentally changes how a hard season affects you. When one part of your system takes a hit, the other 6 are still running. Your fish pond is not affected by a ginger virus. Your timber trees are not affected by a drought that kills your vegetables because your drip system and water harvesting protect them. Your daily milk income does not stop because the vermicompost market is temporarily slow. Your farm keeps moving because no single failure point can stop the whole machine. That continuity, that knowledge that something is always working even when something else is struggling, gives you the mental space to solve problems calmly instead of making desperate decisions under financial pressure. Desperate decisions are how farmers lose land. Calm, strategic decisions are how farmers build legacies. This is the deeper purpose of the system we have laid out today. It is not just about income streams. It is about building a farm that can take a punch, absorb it, and keep producing. A farm that your family can depend on, not just this season, but for decades to come. If you found real value in this breakdown, do something simple right now. Hit the like button and share this with one farmer or aspiring farmer who needs.
Every share means one more person gets access to this way of thinking about land, and that matters. This is my channel, and we put out content like this because this kind of knowledge deserves to be as widely shared as possible. Here is the final thought, and it is the one that should stay with you after this video ends. 1 acre is not a limitation. 1 acre is a canvas. What you build on it is entirely a function of how you see it. Do you see flat ground with a single crop potential, or do you see a layered, interconnected system with vertical growing space, biological relationships, daily income cycles, seasonal harvests, long-term assets, and experience-based revenue? The farmers who see the canvas see what most people miss. They see that the border is a timber farm and a fruit hedge and a security system. They see that the tree trunk is a climbing crop support. They see that the cow dung is fuel and fertilizer. They see that the chicken waste is fish feed. They see that the farm waste is sellable compost.
They see that the raw crop is a processed product waiting to happen, and they see that their working farm is an experience that people will pay to visit. Every one of those things was always there. The land did not change. The perception changed. And perception, in farming as in every other field of human endeavor, is the thing that determines outcomes. You now have the blueprint. You have the system. You have the understanding of why each piece connects to every other piece. The next step is yours. Pick the first stream that fits your situation and begin. Not tomorrow, not after more research. Begin with what you have, where you are, and let the system grow around you the way a forest grows around its first seed. Your 1 acre is waiting, and it has a great deal more to give you than you have yet asked of it.